bugs bite, the bed bugs bite tonight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. The bed bugs bite tonight. Don't let the bed bugs bite.
Hello. A very big welcome to the Apprehend video podcast series. I'll be talking to PMPs throughout the US to find out how they've been integrating Apprehend into their bedbug protocols. If you would like to take part in this series, please contact me, Nina Jenkins, by calling 800-891-8610 extension 0 or send me an email to info@canidiatech.com. We'd love to have you join the conversation. Welcome to the first in the series of the Apprehend podcasts, and I'm joined here by Ivan Costa from Bugzilla Pest Control in Rockport, Massachusetts. Hi, Ivan.
Hi, Nina. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So I think it would be really interesting if you could give us a little bit of your story about how you got into the pest control industry and a bit about your company.
Okay, great. It was an interesting story because I was in the cleaning service industry for over 20 years. And a lot of work I did was for pest control operators where I would clean out attics for mice, rat infestations, and then I got around to bed bug treatments. I mean, I wasn't doing the treatments, but I was doing the remediation, in other words, the prep work, so to speak. And one thing led to another, and I developed some friendships in the industry, and there were some guys that said, Ivan, you'd really get into pest control. And I'd say, no, that's all about killing things, and it's chemicals, et cetera. And that was quite a while ago, but the short of it is I found the field fascinating. I sold off my cleaning business, but I think it gave me a unique perspective, coming from that cleaning industry, in terms of the IPM aspects of it. So when I came into or was introduced to Apprehend, I should say when I discovered Apprehend, and you've asked me that question before, and I don't recall how I came across it. It was either in Pest Control Technology magazine or wherever I came across it. I'm always digging things, and I always look at different things. And when I read, what this product was about, and I said, oh, I'm all over this. I said, I've got to check this out. And I said, is this really a gimmick, or is this something that really is going to be effective? And I believe we had a long conversation originally, and when we chatted about it, I was excited. I said, we got to try this out. We've got nothing to lose. Because I knew I was going to still do my regular protocol of treatments. I don't do heat treatments, but I do chemical treatment. I use the Cynexa. I've had great results with Crossfire. I've used the Transport Micron, and of course, I like to use my Actisol micro injector. So I usually go the whole 9 yards when I'm doing pest control. I charge a little bit more for my treatments, but I want to get that good coverage. So when I saw Apprehend, I said, this is something either I can do on its own, if it's a low infestation, and I'd started out that way too, because there were lighter infestations. So what I would do is just do the Apprehend protocol as you guys had suggested. And I was getting, and I'm crossing my fingers, the whole spray and pray, and I was getting great results. I mean, customers were basically saying, yeah, when we're seeing dead bed bugs, just as you talked about, and satisfy customers. And there was the great part, there was no callbacks in a sense, where I usually do a follow-up, that 10 to 14 day follow-up. And I went over there anyway, and I was checking things out, and I said, hey, this looks great. And so, but what I would normally do on heavier infestations is I would still do the regular protocols. I'd use my Cynexa, we'd be taking things apart, we'd have the customers do the prep. And I would use the Crossfire and whatever else was necessary. And of course, I'd always break out my Actisol to do those injections where it was necessary. And then to wrap things up, the frosting on the cake is always the Apprehend, because I think why not do that? And to date, and we're talking, over a dozen. I don't get bed bug calls every day, but I get a fair amount of it. I'm very picky about what I take. And I like the challenge oftentimes. And I even told one of my colleagues he works along with me. He's another part of the state, but I said when I have a big job, we work together. And I introduced him to Apprehend, and he's having the same results. And I wouldn't go on a job without it, at this point. So I know I went on and on about that, but I'm pretty excited about it. So.
No, that is fantastic. So what would you say the proportion of your work is with respect to bed bugs and general pest or other things?
I would, I probably on average, I mean, if I just had to roll it at the top of my head, and I could check my software program, that would tell me exactly how many bed bugs I've done to date, just in 2019.
Yeah.
But on average, I probably get 2 or 3 calls a month for bed bugs, and I'll maybe take, I'll talk to the person on the phone, and I get a response, and probably about 1 a month, I would say, so maybe a dozen, maybe a little more than that, plus or minus. But it's something I do spend a lot of time with. I study it. But again, it's one of those things where bed bugs can be challenging. And I think most of us in the business, we would rather probably just do a perimeter spray, volume of that, or, go out and just do some mice rodenticide baiting or something rather than, because the bed job, it's labor intensive, and there's always that like, oh boy, I hope this takes, and it's very expensive and there's a lot of prep work. But I enjoy the challenges. I like it. And what I really like is the satisfaction of, being able to solve a customer's problem. It really feels good at the end of the day. And whereas before, even with the which I've had good results with Crossfire, but even before, I'd walk away and go, that follow-up, I'm just hoping I got every one of them. And I think what the Apprehend does is it gives you that extra margin. And I think you can use it unto itself. Again, in lighter infestations, there's no reason why you couldn't. But it's like tools in your toolbox. I mean, sometimes you're getting into something, like you're repairing a car. It's like, which tool do I need for the job? But you're always going to pull out that whatever wrench, no matter what. And I think Apprehend, for me, is that kind of that tool that, it does cost more. I mean, I've got to add to the customer's cost, of course. The labor savings, I mean, it doesn't take that long to apply it. I mean, it's like doing a perimeter treatment. But I insist on it with my customers. And if they don't want to spend the money, it's like, okay, that's it. We're not going to do this job. So.
Okay, so do you find that there is a bit of a customer issue with respect to like spraying a biopesticide in their bedroom, or is it more that they're unwilling to sort of like conform to your protocols and preparation?
I think for the most part, people like the idea that we use biopesticide, because one of the things I do is I give them the handout, the brochure. So it explains to them, and the idea that it's not really a toxicant per se. They like the idea. When I explain some of the history we've talked about, in my notes, I'll explain how, the history of how you developed it. And I think a lot of my customers are into that, kind of green thing. I mean, I know it's not technically a green product, but it has that feel to it. So people don't have a problem with that at all. And in most cases, when people have a bed bug issue, they're at a point, it's like, look, I don't care if you have to use uranium. It's like, just take care of this. So it's just not, I mean, I'm not saying I play down the use of synthetic pesticides, but I think at that point, they don't care. They says, well, geez, can you bring out DDT if that works? It's just, they don't. So that's, at least with my customers, that's not so much of an issue. It really comes down to, especially with multifamilies and landlords, because they just want you to go in and just spray something and have some sort of effect. But I'm going in with the idea that, hey, look, I want to take care of this. I don't want my customer to have a problem, meaning your tenants to have a problem, and I don't want callbacks. So their issue is more around the cost aspect of it. And they're saying, geez, you're doing a lot. My last guy would just come in, and just spray around the room. And I said, well, how many times did he have to come do that? And was the problem still there? So that's where sometimes I am selective about the jobs, and I'll say, hey, look, basically, maybe I'm not for you. If you want to go to the McDonald's of bed bug treatment, go. You go do that, fast food, so to speak.
Cool. So what is your basic preparation protocol that you ask your customers to do before you go?
Well, I send them that handout. Of course, you give to us, but I don't like to leave it just onto them. So on that initial inspection, I'll have that with me, and I like to point out, because each job's different, right? So some rooms are more cluttered than others. Some people has more density. That it's tighter. I mean, a lot of times, unfortunately, the rooms we're in, it's like they have a full-size bed in a room that really could only have a twin-size bed, and you can barely move. So it's not only a challenge for them to prep, but it's a challenge for me just to work in. So that's what I might have them sometimes just move stuff out of the room and whatnot. But for the most part, if the room if the preparation is extensive, then I just automatically go into the Apprehend mode, because obviously we can't be doing all that traditional kind of prep work. And I know customers, they'll say, or the tenants, they'll say, yeah, I'm going to do that prep work, And I'll even remind them. I'll get on the phone the night before. How you doing? Oh, yeah, we're working on it. And I get in there that morning. And what are they doing? They're just beginning the prep work. It's like, oh, good God. So maybe in a sense, if I did more of this, if I think I really got into this big time, I would probably have a prep service or suggest a prep service for some of my customers and just say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do, and this is the only way we're going to do it. So I can make sure that we get it done. But even in those cases where the prep wasn't 100%, I still got the results with the Apprehend. So I'm pretty happy with that so far.
All right. So what changes or improvements have you got to suggest to us? Is there something that we need to work on that would make your life easier?
Your customer service is excellent. I mean, I love it. You're very approachable, but specific. Okay, let's look at critiques. I don't know. So far everything's worked pretty well for me. Of course, like I said, it's not something I do day in and day out, but I've worked it enough, so it's worked for me. My buddy Dave, who also uses your product, had mentioned he was thinking of trying to design something so that you didn't have to bend over. And I think, didn't you have a product? You have some sort of device now so that you can actually roll the spray, or you have a wand for the sprayer and use it?
That's right. We call it the Apprehend Extension Wand Kit. So
that's what it was. I saw that.
We launched that a couple of weeks ago, and it enables you to get up to coving and down to the baseboard. So
because I'm
simply attach it to your current system. It's available now. So.
No, and I got to get one of those too. It's because I'm 5'6", which is an advantage when I'm going into crawl spaces and basements, whatnot, or attics, but not so much when I have to reach above a door. I'm always grabbing the step ladder or something. So I thought that would be just right. And sometimes too, you're leaning over something, right? You can't quite get up to whatever, and you're climbing across whatever it is. So that would be that's a must-have, I think, for sure. So
cool. Okay, well, is there anything else that you would like to put a message out there to your colleagues in the industry?
The only thing I can tell you got to try it. You just, I'm on the pest control, one of the pest control solo operators on Facebook, and of course we're always talking about different products, and people mention Apprehend. The guys been online, and so the guys like, oh yeah, we love it. And I'm one of the ones always saying, you got to try this, and other guys says, nah, I'm not buying it. But very few. I don't think, if I recall, any of us have used it and said, hey, it didn't work. But I think everyone's a little skeptical about this. And even my competitors in the area, I know, because I get the feedback, because customers will tell me, look, I had ABC company over here, and they said, well, that biopesticide, we're not sold on that idea. And I'm like, fine, don't be. I'm like, great, I'll use it, so. But, is it a miracle product? I'm not trying to make like an infomercial here. There's no one tool that's going to do everything, right? But as far as I'm concerned, this is the one tool in my tool belt that I would not, unless it's one of those jobs where it's just complete budgetary concerns, and I'm not even sure, I have 1 or 2 bed bugs or something. I'm saying, all right, look, guys, there's no guarantee on this. I'm just going to do a spray and pray. That's all you get. But I would never do a job again without Apprehend for that reason, because it's just a peace of mind. The more you use it, the more you realize, like, why wouldn't you use it? So
that's cool, Ivan.
Great.
Well, I think we can wrap this up. It's been so fantastic to speak to you, and your enthusiasm is just brilliant.
Well, this is exciting. I like products that I love. If I didn't like your product, this wouldn't go well.
And that's fair enough. So thanks again for
Thank you, Nina. This was
podcast, and then most of all, thanks for being an Apprehend customer.
Well, this was my first podcast, too. Period. So thank you very much.
That's cool. Bye, Ivan.
Bye now.
Well, that concludes the first episode of the Apprehend video podcast series. Remember, if you'd like to be part of this conversation, please contact me on 800-891-8610 extension 0, or by email at info@canidiatech.com.
Don't let the bed bugs bite, the bed bugs bite tonight. Don't let the bed bugs bite, the bed bugs bite tonight. Don't let the bed bugs bite, don't let the bed bugs bite tonight. Don't let the bed bugs, don't let the bed bugs, aye, 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 aye.